Hey, what's up everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Okay, so would I be willing to take Dennis Schröder back? Yeah, of course. I think the thing is about Dennis Schröder was not necessarily anything that had to do with him not getting along with the team or not being able to, provide what his level of talent is. The issue with him was he wanted more money than we could pay him, and he had priced himself so far out of the game that it had become laughable. It didn't have nothing to do with whether or not he was playing well. My issue with him wasn't with him. It was just an unfortunate situation that took place because COVID protocol removed him from our lineup for like 6 or 7 games. And when he came back, he was on a hell of a slump with the team itself having changed around because we had injuries to major pieces that made it so that his role and what was needed of him was different from what it was when he left the lineup with COVID. That was literally it. If you go back and look at how Dennis Schröder was playing prior to being hit with the COVID protocol, he was exactly what we wanted him to be. He was giving us scoring. He was efficient around the rim. He was efficient from the free throw line. He was doing all kinds of decent stuff for us. He came back, and we needed him to play better defense. We needed him to provide more scoring. LeBron James had been removed from the lineup. I think AD was out of the lineup or something like that. Someone had come back. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it changed his role. And it changed what it is that we needed him to do. So, because I remember that, I just kind of don't really have a problem at all with bringing him back. He's only going to be a rental. He'll be here for a couple months, and he's going to go and get himself a bag. The reason why he's being let go of is not because Boston didn't like him. It was because they can't pay him just like we couldn't. Houston's going to get rid of him because they can't use him. They ain't going to pay him just like, it's that kind of thing. It's not really ever anything wrong with Dennis Schröder as it pertains to whether or not he's a good enough basketball player to be on anybody's team. The question is he ever in a situation where he's going to get the money that he wants? And this was all basically part of the plan. Boston was the only place he could literally go after the free agent pool had dried up and everybody had paid everyone they were going to pay. It was just nowhere for him to go but out the league, if not to Boston. It was his last possible stop, and he had to go for significantly less money than he would have loved to go for. Well, Boston understood that completely. And from the beginning of the season, it was understood that they were probably going to trade him midway through the season because he's an expiring contract that they weren't going to re-sign. So it's like this was understood before he even signed with Boston that he would probably be away from Boston in the second half of the season and would be a buyout candidate right now. This was already understood. His representation, whoever, if they advised him properly, none of this should be unexpected in any way, shape, or form. He had no control over where he was going from Boston to the Rockets, and the Rockets just have plenty going on that they no way they're paying him. First of all, they got a team full of youngsters that they're happy with. They got a John Wall contract that they're going to have to stretch. It's going to cost them a fortune to do so. They're going to have to waive Dennis Schröder off just by way of what it is they got going on. So this is why I think it's important for people like myself to just kind of speak this way so that, there's some offset to the notion that a guy sucks or that a guy was a problem where he wasn't or that a guy can't find a home or something like that, because this ain't got nothing to do with that. This has to do with the numbers everywhere he finds himself and the process of what it is that just has to happen just off the strength of what it is he has going on with his contract or lack thereof at this point. The point is he was going to try to find a place where he could just show that he can maintain his value and then test free agency next year, or rather at the end of this season, and hopefully to have played his value up to the level that he wants. Now, has he done that? No, not in Boston. It's impossible. They had too many players in his role. You got Marcus Smart. You got all these different people. But, in Boston just didn't really have the role for him to be able to do that. Houston obviously doesn't either. So I don't know if he would choose us. It might make more sense for him to try to jump ahead of the free agency aspect of things and try to go somewhere where he would consider being signed. That way he can give them a small sample size of what it is that he believes he can bring to the table long term. That's what I think he should do. Wherever he wants to sign or wherever he thinks wants him, that's where he should sign right now. And then just, give yourself a shot. Because at the end of the day, signing with the Lakers, yeah, it'll help us. It'll boost our bench entirely, give us a way to sit Russell Westbrook and still have a point guard production off the bench. It doesn't rush Kendrick Nunn back. In fact, we could probably just not bring Kendrick Nunn back this year since he's having trouble with so many setbacks. It would probably be best for his career going forward. It just not play this season. So Dennis Schröder will help us with that. He could basically take Kendrick Nunn's spot and allow us to sit Russell Westbrook, as everyone seems like thinks we should, which I don't have a problem with at all. Someone who's familiar with the situation of what we're about, someone who's familiar with Frank Vogel and the way that he does things. I think it's a no-brainer for us to want Dennis Schröder for the short term, for the remainder of this season. And it also is to be expected that he'll leave at the end of this season and go get that bag, because that's been the plan since last season. So, I mean, I don't know what the free agency pool will look like for the rest. For us right now. I hear DeAndre Brembry's name. He was just waived in order to make room for Drummond and all those guys in Brooklyn. Which I'm listening to Brooklyn fans, just reading up on how they felt about Brembry, and they really like him. I am not familiar with his game that much, but I'm encouraged by the fact that they would have much rather let go of Carter, from what I've been hearing. So that's encouraging. So those are the type of things that the Lakers can do for themselves. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of money to give people, but I think there will be a nice opportunity for Dennis Schröder to have a solid 6-man role for the next 2 months for our team. And if we make the play-in tournament, he'll have a pretty solid role there too. There'll be plenty of shots for him, I believe, off the bench for our team, or even starting. Like I said, if we sit Russell Westbrook, I mean, he'll be the starting point guard. So it's what we need. Even though he's not a facilitating point guard, he's more of a point guard than Kendrick Nunn, in my opinion, as I think Kendrick Nunn is a solid 2-guard when healthy, and I just don't expect him to be healthy anytime soon. I mean, he keeps having these setbacks, So those are the type of things that I'm thinking about. I don't know if Dennis will choose the Lakers or if he'll take my advice and go to the team that he thinks he can re-sign with. But, yeah, if he wants to be here, we should definitely want him. He's probably the best player available. I mean, the buyout candidate pool that I've heard about, he's the best one available. Because all things considered, he shouldn't be out there. His only problem is he outpriced himself. He would be on a 3-year contract for like $10 million apiece, $12 million apiece right now without any concerns about being bought out or even probably traded if he were in the right spot. So that's just what I want to put out there about Dennis Schröder. I understand his situation. His best there is to understand it, and it ain't got nothing to do with his game. Ain't got nothing to do with his upside from here. I think he's probably entering his prime right now since he's a fairly young dude. He's probably only like 27 at the most. So there's no reason to not want him. And like I said, the only reason why he played poorly is because he was just removed from the lineup for too long and brought back to basically a different team, close to the playoffs. And then from there, we just couldn't get him reacclimated into what it is that we do, and he couldn't shake off that slump at the same time. That's what it was. So, yeah, we should want him back for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with Dennis Schröder. He didn't have a bad attitude, Now, I will admit that I didn't watch the Lakers as much last year as I'm watching it this year because I didn't have this channel going like that. I wasn't documenting every game like that. So there were certain games that he probably didn't play well that I just didn't see. And I'll refer to you guys, Laker fans, who watched more of last season than I did, to tell me what was going on. But I will tell you this. I don't think it's much different right now in terms of the problems that we have right now than I don't think he was in a much better situation then because we had the same damn coach who was doing the same damn things. I mean, look, Montrezl Harrell should have been better utilized. That's one thing we understand. Kyle Kuzma had a triple-double last night. That should tell you something as well. So any concerns you have about Dennis Schröder or anybody else that's been in this system, you just remember what my opinion has always been about that. As long as Frank Vogel is the guy calling the plays and putting the players on the floor, they're going to look worse and they'll play better elsewhere. Charge some of Dennis Schröder's issues to that notion, if you will. I'll leave it at that. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching.